What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 3 of Café con Santos. In this episode, I got a chance to talk with Ruth Rodriguez from Jornadas. The show got a little lengthy, but I enjoyed the conversation, and I'm sure you guys will enjoy it as well. So please get your coffee ready, because this show is starting in 3, 2, 1, go. Pues vamos a empezar en el nombre del Padre, del Hijo, del Espíritu Santo. Amen. Señor, thank you for bringing Ruth and I together to talk a little bit about Saint Francis of Assisi. I ask that you join our conversation, send your Holy Spirit, so that we may bring up topics that are relevant to youth in our current time. All this we ask in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Well, welcome everybody to episode 3 of Café con Santos. Café con Santos is a little bit of different things. We pray daily rosaries on Facebook, and we also have this podcast where I interview some of my friends to talk a little bit about my journey in the Catholic faith, as well as some of the life of the saints. And today we have Ruth Rodriguez. She is a graduate and alum from Eastern Michigan University, correct?
Thank you, yes.
She works for Ford, and she is also one of the OGs of El Movimiento de Jornadas de Vida Cristiana, aka Jornadas. Mm-hmm. So welcome, Ruth.
Thank you for inviting me.
So before we get started, I wanted to ask you the most important question.
Of course.
There's only one correct answer to this. Do you like coffee?
Oh, God, yes.
Nice. Sweet. So we've got 2 in a row. Father Ryan likes coffee. Ruth likes coffee.
Good, yeah. So
let's try to see how long we could get that streak going.
You're right.
So Ruth, one of the things that I feel some of our listeners might not know about Jornadas is that sometimes we have some very wise phrases that come straight from the heart. And one of those phrases is, vamos a empezar con lo primero. We are going to start with the first thing.
Let's start from the beginning, the first thing, something like that.
Something like
right.
that. So, Ruth, we're going to do something we like to call Ask Blank. In this case, Ask Ruth. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions.
Okay.
And you're going to have to answer as honestly as possible.
Okay, as long as yeah, I'm ready. As long as it's like not that quick rapid fire.
Okay, I'll try to slow it down.
Not no Family Feud type of deal, and just say like the randomest of answers.
Blue, yellow, purple,
green. Dr. Seuss.
All right, so let's get started. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Oh my God. I know it was like, I've always heard these questions, and it's usually like, the flying, the strength and all that stuff. Honestly, it's going to be telekinesis.
What was telekinesis?
Telekinesis is the power to move in animate or inanimate objects with your mind. And for me, it's like, boy, if you knew how quickly I can clean a house like that, it was like, but I'm not going to limit just cleaning house or anything, but it's just basically more like rebuilding, construction, everything that I can do with telekinesis. Obviously, it's going to be more for the good, as long as, I got a good, healthy mind, a sane heart. Sane heart I'm talking about. I would think, telekinesis would be my thing.
Nice.
Yeah, so.
Do you have a devotion to any saint?
Saint Francisco de Assisi would be the one that I can connect with, or that I want to continue on connecting with the most, as far as like all the saints. Not every saint has its, its past and its story and their history and everything that's powerful. But for me, it's going to be Saint Francisco de Assisi.
Are you a dog or a cat person?
Both.
Dog person.
Well, I am, because I got my, my doggy greñas. But I am both.
What set of mysteries do you like the most when praying a rosary?
Iluminosos.
What is your favorite dessert?
Tiramisu.
I think that was Father Ryan's as well.
Padre, me está robando. You're stealing.
Were you always Catholic?
Yes.
What is one thing that most people do not know about you?
Well, let's see. I think the people that I've been meeting more in my recent years, I guess you can say, like, let's say, because I lived the retreat of Jornadas back in 98, I would say the ones around the year 2000 and up, I think they have a harder time believing that I was really, really extremely shy, really quiet, reserved, and then I had a lot of trouble as far as like expressing myself in front of, you know, people that I kind of like not know that well. I would say, and so much panic came into me that I couldn't even speak nor English or Spanish. And so people thought I didn't know one language or the other. So people now, you know, within these times, I think it's, yes, I was extremely, extremely shy.
If you were not married, what type of work do you think you would be doing? So this question last time was, if you weren't a priest, what kind of work would you be doing? If you weren't working at Ford right now, what kind of stuff would you imagine you'd be doing? I would
seriously go into like animation.
Oh.
Really?
JoJo's Bizarre World?
You're right. Right. I'll be in chapter 10, you know, some weird name like, you know, the Bajanglings, you know. And I get my own stand. Yes, and for those who knows JoJo's, yes, I've already pictured what my stand would be.
What song hypes you up?
Oh my God. You know what it is? Like, it depends on the mood, but I got several. I got
you gotta pick one.
Oh, I got one. Only one. It's gonna be. It's not. I don't think it's cringe worthy, and it's not
We're not here to judge.
Thank you. It's gonna be Turned Down for What?
Turned Down for What?
Yeah.
Okay.
God, I love me the King of Crunk. I love that man so much.
And then last question, if you could be the patron saint of something, what would it be?
Ooh. It would be number one, it would be for how would you say this? To defend for those that can't defend themselves. So I guess the compassion, I don't want to say weak, but the defenseless. There you go. The shield of the defenseless.
Okay, nice. So thank you, Ruth, for this segment of Ask Ruth.
Yay.
Woo!
Yay. Past the first phase.
Now we're gonna jump right into it, into the next part, which is the part after vamos a empezar con lo primero.
Okay.
Ahora vamos a empezar con lo segundo.
Sigue la siguiente.
All right, Ruth. Well, I would assume that the majority of the viewers, the listeners, do not know who you are at all. They don't know what they're missing out on. Ruth is an amazing person.
Thank you.
I'm just going to give you some time to just share a little bit about your testimony. And I've heard parts of your testimony before, but could you just share a little bit about yourself, you know, here where you were raised, your family, what brought you to Jornadas, perhaps, just, you know, just a little bit about yourself.
Real quick then, my family, well, it's like I got both my parents had already passed away, but on different, you know, different circumstances. But both of them, paz descanse, they're from Michoacan. And I, you know, the running joke I've always said is just like I was made in Mexico, but I was produced over in Chicago. So I was born over in Chicago, but basically I was Detroit raised. My father worked for Chrysler for many years, and then he went over to Ford. So my life is always around the automotive business, oddly enough, and to work, you know, indirectly with Ford too. It just comes full circle. But raised in Detroit, I still live in Detroit, you know, Southwest. It's like a lot of pride and everything. Went to high school over in Holy Redeemer, went to Eastern Michigan University, had several jobs and all that stuff. But it's just, you know, going through life, right? And like how many people may say that I was going through the gigs and there's like I found Jornadas, and it really helped me out as far as like my role in my family. I got brothers and sisters, no kids of my own, but I do have nieces and nephews who I love dearly. And what else? So as not to go through my whole entire life story, but it's just basically not the most ideal childhood that I had, and the adolescence also around that time. So around when I was in my late teens, early 20s, it's when my life started turning around. And so that's when I started to choose. I was like, you know what? I'm not happy with where I'm going at, and I'm not happy with myself.
And around this time, you were fresh out of college? Or,
around, like mid-college.
Okay.
I was still going to college and everything, and it's just that it was just going through the weird phase of like, by then, I had lost my father when I was 16, right? And so such a delicate age, because you're still like, young and dumb. And, one is still young and dumb, even in their early 20s. I'm
still very much young and dumb.
And some are, and sadly, there's our old and dumb, too. But in my case, it was, very naive to the world. And then again, because I was so extremely shy and the low self-esteem and all that stuff. And so, and how can I help my mom? Because with my mom, I'm the oldest child. So now you got this just, this fragile little thing who struggles talking to other people, now has to be the voice of the whole family, because my mom absolutely knew no English, having to help out my younger sister, Andrea, and then the youngest brother, Juan Luis. And, us growing, single mom in Detroit with no English. And it really, we'll say, a huevo kind of thing. It's like that, or,
you had to.
I had to, right? I was like, I know if you translate in English, buy eggs. May not make sense to you, but to us, we get it. So, forcefully, it was like it has to change. So it's just this struggle in which I want to be living this ideal, what I thought was an ideal life as far as like a teenager, a young 20-year-old. And it's like, but at the same time, I'm being pulled of these other things. It's like, now I got to help out with with my mom and all that stuff, but I want to be free of everything and live my own life. It was like a constant struggle, and then all of a sudden, also the, not clashing, I don't want to say the right word, but it's just this, cannot quite fit, like the weird cog that doesn't quite fit on a machine when it comes to the two cultures. My mom's from Mexico, so it's their mindset is the way she thought. And then me born in the U.S., grown up here, it's just weird. Certain things that I will never get or I cannot understand the Mexican side. And the same thing, there's things that I can never understand the American side. Right? So it's just this weird kind of combobulated thing between me and my mom. So it was a lot of heated discussions between me and her. I want to help her, but at the same time, you got to help me out too, because I'm not you, type of deal. And anyway, so as time goes on, finding jobs and trying to, see where I'm going to go with the career path, because I kind of knew I don't want to end up like what my mom was forced into with the struggle with the language, for one. She was educated too. Don't get me wrong, she was educated, but what she studied over in Mexico couldn't apply here in the U.S. So I was like, no, my mindset is like, married be damned. I really didn't care being, with anybody, I guess. Marriage was the last thing on my mind. Truly it was. And my focus was, I need to get my studies and I need to get a career somehow before anything else. And so if anything, that. I was maybe confused with other things in life, like, what's my self-worth and all this, but that I at least knew that I need to get my educate on. I need my education, like no matter what. I was kind of a nerd too, so I was like, didn't really have that many friends. So I was like, what else can I do but study, study and draw and all this other stuff. But again, it's like, even if I had my education and diploma and all that stuff, there was still something in the back of my mind. I was like, it's not enough in my life. It's truly not enough. That's when, around that time, as my education was coming to an end and I'm getting closer and all that stuff, that's when Jornadas came in. And so, and it opened up, like, you know what? Might as well try something out new. My cousin Ramon, he's the one that convinced me, hey, why don't you come live the retreat with me?
Shout out to Ramon.
Ramon Alanis. Thank you, Ramon. So Ramon told me, it's like, hey, what, you know, we're going to bring in Jornadas from Mexico, this whole team and all this other stuff, and, you know, come and join. I was like, okay. And so there was different iglesias like Redeemer, St. Hedwig's, St. Anne, St. Gabriel's, St. Michael's over at St. Vincent's over in Pontiac. I mean, different. I'm not gonna name all the iglesias because, like, I, you know, off the top of my head, I'm not gonna remember all of them right now. But from different churches, like, hey, let's bring in some people. So they brought in un equipo, or a team of like 15, and Padre Juan Mendoza. Oddly enough, he's also from Michoacan. Shout out to Michoacan. So, come on, man.
Shout out to Michoacan.
Shout out to Michoacan. So, you know, but he lives over allá en Tlalnepantla, Ciudad de Mexico. So, or Tlalnepantla allá in Mexico. So they brought in the equipo, lived the retreat, and that was the first time it was something that opened up like a kick in the ass. Perdón por la palabra. You know, it was a kick in the butt that I need to change my outlook in life. I needed to. It was like, you know, somebody just bopped me upside the head. I was like, this is why you're not happy.
And at this point, you're trying different things. A lot of events going on in your life.
Yeah.
You just graduated?
That was time. Like, right. Yeah.
Yet that didn't completely. And so you kind of had an idea that there's something more to life.
Yep.
And kind of Jornadas just kind of opened the door to that new world.
Yes. It was like finally I was learning how to, you know, find my own voice, for one. There was a lot of people that, you know, that didn't judge and everything with my struggle with the language. For both English and Spanish, because they knew that at the, you know, the team at the time was like, they knew that I was, you know, suffering like from real low self-esteem, and, you know, like I was saying earlier, so they didn't judge me. It's like they were very patient with me. That's the one thing, man, one of the one things that I admired, and then I found like fascinating looking back at it now, was just the patience that they had with me to let me grow at my own pace, you know? It's like not forcefully like speak, you know, how people would try to force you, just say it, you know, be loose and all this other stuff. No. They were very patient and helped guide. And then you see like the different types of people and their own, you know, personal things, struggles, accomplishments, defects, talents, this whole variety of types of people. And the one thing that we had in common was that the fact that we wanted to change ourselves for something better. You know, it was like something just either some there, you know, I'm not saying that everybody was like struggling and martyrs. No. It was just like the wide variety of like their own personal things. But everybody was very respectful for, this is what you're going through. I can help you out because of, you know, blah, 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 X, Y, Z. And so the very little I can give, they took it as like, it's worth a lot. So I saw the appreciation. It's like, you know, me trying to be like a leader, you know, even though I'm like, at the time, I didn't see that I was actually worth anything. So yeah.
And so years later, we're here, and it's been like what, 22 years since that 1998, about maybe 22 years. Yep. And Jornadas is still here. In fact, as you can see, shameless plug, we're wearing our Jornadas shirts right now.
And we didn't even call each other. It's like, hey, you're going to wear this shirt.
I mean, today is Saturday. Saturday is our Forzación for Jornadas. Right. We got an event later today, but this was not scripted at all. It was really the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. It's like, and then for the love of the black color, he was like, oh God, I love the color black. And I think, you know, you look good in dark colors too. It's like,
I mean, there's like a whole white.
it's to make it pop. But yeah, so yeah, it's been 98, and stayed with the team. It was again, it was just a kick. It was something that I needed, and it helped out. I came in with so little things to offer, but the los frutos, the benefits, and the treasures, and the whole surplus of good things came back tenfold. And then so my family, we started becoming more. We again, the struggle a little bit, like all good families, but I can tell, and my like my sister and my brother told me, it was like, I can see it. It's like, I see you're changing.
Yeah, I can relate with that, because I've shared a little bit about my experience with college and the path that I used to be on. And I mean, I also lived the Jornadas retreat. I lived it in 2016, so it's been a little bit over 4 years now. And I could tell that, my parents have told me, my mom has been like, I've seen, the difference in what your life has been compared to where you were at back then, compared to now. And I mean, we're all, on a continuous conversion throughout our life, but like compared to where I started 4 years ago, compared to where you started 20 years ago, where you were too shy to speak in front of a crowd, couldn't speak the language. Now you're here doing a podcast in English while talking about anime.
Hey man, whatever rocks your boat, and it makes Jesus happy, I guess. But yeah, it's an amazing thing. And then even to this day, though, it's not like it's going to stop. No, I see for myself, and then still with my family that's ever growing and everything. It's always like something continuous. Yeah. That's what I love with the meaning of Jornadas. It's journey. It's going to be an endless, infinite journey until the last day. It's like,
Yeah. And you guys could not probably tell, but Ruth is doing a very good job, because she has only cussed about 2 or 3 times. When I first met Ruth, every other sentence was chingas and all these words. She has been, I mean, and since I've met her, she's definitely improved, and she has been very censored during this conversation. But in general, I've noticed a change in Ruth. She's a dope person, and later on we're gonna continue this conversation. But I don't know if there's any last words to your testimony that you want to do.
Yeah, I want to say no, just no. It's like, well, no, that's it's the herencia of my dad. It's like, and my mom too. That they were like captains of swearing. But my mom and my dad, if they're in heaven, everything, me mandan like a big soap in the bed. Don't you say that. But no, but lasting words is just that I'm actually very appreciative of the life that I was given. Of course, there's going to be moments in which not the greatest of the happiest memories, but it makes me appreciate more the good things that came over it. And so I can't wait for the the next cycle of life that is coming my way too. So Jornadas is going to be like forever in my heart, along with the love that I have for my family and friends, and new friends and new family that's going to come into the future. I can't wait to see it. And so it's going to be, it's an exciting thing.
Sweet. So we're going to cut right there to hear a little bit from our sponsor. So all right, welcome back, everybody. Ruth just finished giving her testimony and talked a little bit about her experiences with Jornadas. And we're gonna go now into la tercera parte. Vamos a empezar con lo tercero.
Okay.
So today, the saint for today is actually Saint Francis of Assisi. I remember you said that's one of the saints that you kind of have kind of like a devotion to, or at least ones that you kind of respect and
admiration.
And admiration
too.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to be sharing a short biography of Saint Francis of Assisi. And this bio is actually from franciscanmedia.org. They are my source for this bio. And like I said in my last podcast, Please do not sue me for using your material. I am listing you guys as my source. Do not sue me. All right, so Saint Francis of Assisi's story. The patron saint of Italy, Francis of Assisi, was a poor little man who astounded and inspired the church by taking the gospel literally, not in a narrow fundamentalist sense, but by actually following all that Jesus said and did, joyfully, without limit and without a sense of self-importance. Serious illness brought the young Francis to see the emptiness of his frolicking life as a leader of Assisi's youth. Prayer, lengthy and difficult, led him to a self-emptying like that of Christ, climaxed by embracing a leper he met on the road. It symbolized his complete obedience to what he had heard in prayer. Francis, everything you have loved and desired in the flesh, it is your duty to despise and hate, if you wish to know my will. And when you have begun this, all that now seems sweet and lovely to you will become intolerable and bitter. But all that you used to avoid will turn itself to great sweetness and exceeding joy. From the cross in the neglected field chapel of San Damiano, Christ told him, "Francis, go out and build up my house, for it is nearly falling down." Francis became the totally poor and humble workman. He must have suspected a deeper meaning to build up my house, but he would have been content to be, for the rest of his life, the poor, nothing man actually putting brick on brick in abandoned chapels. He gave up all his possessions, piling even his clothes before his earthly father, who was demanding restitution for Francis' gifts to the poor, so that he would be totally free to say, "Our Father in heaven." He was for a time considered to be a religious fanatic, begging from door to door when he could not get money for his work, evoking sadness or disgust to the hearts of his former friends, ridicule from the unthinking. But genuineness will tell, a few people began to realize that this man was actually trying to be Christian. He really believed what Jesus said, "Announce the kingdom, possess not gold or silver or copper in your purses, no traveling bag, no sandals, no staff." Francis's first rule for his followers was a collection of texts from the Gospels. He had no intention of founding an order, but once it began, he protected it and accepted all the legal structures needed to support it. His devotion and loyalty to the church were absolute and highly exemplary at a time when various movements or reforms tended to break the church's unity. Francis was torn between a life devoted entirely to prayer and a life of active preaching of the good news. He decided in favor of the latter, but always returned to solitude when he could. He wanted to be a missionary in Syria or in Africa, but was prevented by shipwreck and illness in both cases. He did try to convert the Sultan of Egypt during the Fifth Crusade. During the last years of his relatively short life, he died at 44. Francis was half blind and seriously ill. 2 years before his death, he received the stigmata, the real and painful wounds of Christ in his hands, feet, and side. On his deathbed, Francis said over and over again the last addition to his Canticle of the Sun: "Be praised, O Lord, for our sister death." he sang Psalm 141, and at the end asked his superiors permission to have his clothes removed when the last hour came, in order that he could expire lying naked on the earth in imitation of his Lord. So that's Saint Francis of Assisi, folks. One thing that I think about Saint Francis is about, again, how he abandoned the things of his world.
Right.
The biography didn't go into detail, but there was a point where he had just kind of had like an encounter with God, and he started doing things that kind of seemed weird to his family and to his friends.
Right.
And so there was a point where his father was like, "What are you doing? You know, you can't be doing this stuff." But Saint Francis was kind of like so committed to changing his life, that when his father brought up that issue to, I think it was the bishop of Assisi, I believe, he was like, you know, kind of telling the bishop, you know, tell my son this is wrong or whatever.
Right.
But what Francis chose to do instead was he took off like a very nice clothes that he had, that his father had given him, or were pretty much, you know, belonging to him because he was taking care of him. What he did was he took it all off and was kind of like, in a way, naked in front of a large crowd. And he said, in short, basically, he said, "You are no longer my father is God."
Right.
He didn't say those exact words, but what he chose to say was kind of like a rejection of his father in front of the town square or wherever it was. And he said, the Our Father. In front of everybody. And going back, like, if that was kind of like a slap in the face to us, like, imagine you telling your dad, "You are not my dad."
It's like, I wouldn't live today.
Just put yourself in the what was this, like the 1200, that period where people are very formal, very traditional. So it must have been very like again, like a slap in the face.
It's basically sacrilegious.
Yeah.
You know, the best word to say it, because it's like, if today in society, how it's so, you know, especially, you know, like, I don't want to say just limited only in the United States, but just in certain, you know, countries or certain the regions, which is very materialistic, and to put your worth kind of thing. It's all about the money. It's all about the views. It's all about popularity, the likes, the whatever the case may be. And all of a sudden you go against it. Like, nope, I don't need all that. And then they'll see you as weird. I can't only imagine. It was like, now, because they're from a noble family. Yeah. So yeah, there's a royalty and all that stuff. If one of the royal families today, you know what?
There's a good example of that kind of. Like,
yeah.
Prince Harry, is it?
Yeah, Prince Harry just kind of, you know.
Not to this extreme.
Not to the extreme, but stepped down from his entitlement. And it's like, wow. And it just became this scandal, you know, of like this guy, and he chose to live as a more normal life, more humble life as much as possible for the welfare of his family. You know, and then he got scrutinized, him and the wife, Meghan Markle. Yeah, that's her name. And it's amazing. And there's, you know, people that, you know, condemned him and all this other stuff. And it just made this such a big deal. But, you know, you got to put yourself in his shoes. You know, it's like, what am I gaining out of this type of deal? Now, you know, can't compare exactly like San Francisco, but there's like the closest modern version that we have, like this very publicized, you know, like how, you know, that was just, you know, then it had nothing to do with religion, but
and I mean, I do want to say also that to us, you know, who have been living out the faith, something like what Saint Francis did might not seem so extreme, because we kind of are all called to do something similar. But like, for those who, even I guess to me it's a little bit hard, but let's just say you know nothing about the faith, and what you decide to do is you freely choose a life of poverty. Give up. Imagine, like, let's just be honest. Imagine the tomorrow, God is like, all right, I want you to make a change with your life. Like, oh, okay, cool. What do I got to do? Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram. Just kind of cut all of that out. Like, oh, okay, I'll do it. Is that it? Oh, you think that's it? You know that really nice, comfortable bed that you have? You're going to be sleeping on the floor now. Oh, so I got to give up my house? Yeah. Oh, man, that's tough. But that's it, right? Oh, and you kind of have to be begging for food for the rest of your life.
Yep.
Like, who in their right mind would be like, oh, I'm totally going to do that?
And I'll be the first.
And it's like, God is not telling us to do that.
No, by all means, no.
But, when Saint Francis experienced this was his personal encounter with God and his personal story. God speaks to us in different ways, and there's some similarity to how God speaks to me and Ruth and maybe you, but Saint Francis had like a unique experience,
right?
Because he did live in a period where he had recently gotten captured, I think, by some soldiers. And so he was kind of going through a difficult time in his life. And he also, like you said, there was a point in your life when you realized there has to be a change. He experienced that as well. But to him, he was like, all right, I'm completely giving up what I had before and only focusing on God.
You're right.
And like I said, we're all kind of in a way asked to do the same, but this is kind of an extreme to some people. Some people, because right now there's still the religious order that he helped start, the Franciscans. They also freely choose to live a life of obedience and poverty, humbleness. But to people, especially I would say us in the U.S. who are very materialistic, we'd be like, "Yo, that's crazy." But in a way, they're choosing to be poor, but they're receiving so much more because they're detaching themselves from all of these different things, like social media being one that kind of tie us down. I don't know if you've ever experienced, St. Francis, what he experienced was big, but in your life, have you ever had like a moment where you felt God was telling you, all right, I would like you to take or make a change in your life. And for you at the point was like, oh, you're asking too much.
Oh my God. Yeah, actually, different moments. It happened like in different moments, and it's certain things that I had to let go at different aspects of my life. Right. And so I think it through other people, through retreats, even mass, or just everyday common things. There's like signs or something that illuminates that, it's like, you know what, you got to let go of, in my case, and this is not for everybody. My case is like one of the things that I kept, holding on to, which prevented me to, be happier and feel like fulfilled, or that fulfillment, right, was to let go of anger, let go of, what do you call it? Maybe even a certain degree, let go of pride, let go of miedo, fear. Thank you. It's the, let go of fear, let go of self-doubt. So it doesn't have necessarily mean I have to, it's material things, you know what I'm saying? That's preventing me to, receive that change and all that stuff, or wanting to change. It could be characteristics. That's why I admire a lot for San Francisco, because it's not just material things. It's a change of mentality too. To go from one day to the next, it's like you come from either, from this hierarchy of this noble birth, and to just completely, scatter, or the whole thing is completely out the window, to live to something that, by begging, or this humbleness. It's not just letting go of everything, physically there, but mentally you have to let it go, kind of thing. So for me, these moments happens, like through my mom, where she saw that I was like, you can't live your life continuing like this, like the way, you saw things. It's like you have to be open-minded and let God in a little bit more. So again, there's like these little moments like that, those little talks with the parents, talks with friends that truly are looking out for you, spiritual guides. It's even in the Bible, the retreats that I've lived, certain spiritual books, Catholic approved type of deal. It's like little signs. So it's not like this one big sign and all of a sudden God shone, all of a sudden, the clouds open and, the bright lights and, very much like the Lion King, like the sun is like, none of that ever happened in my life. It's like little things out there that shows like there's little guidance, those little tiny signs that kind of like was, you know what, this is what you got to do. So you got to let go of certain things. And so that kind of was the reason why I admire him so much, or I could, identify is that, it's like I need to let go of all this, especially negativity. Mm-hmm. I'm very much like maybe most people's like I am my own worst critic, mm-hmm. or I had let people, label me the worst names out there, and I let it get to my heart. I really took it to heart. I took it to soul, and that's what I held on to. And so it's one of those things. It's like these signs are out there, so you can't just let that continue on and weighing you down. Aside of, material things, but then some of the signs or some of the things that because I was holding on to that negativity, that's when I starting with things that may not be good for me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I might have been replacing it with, like material things. Like I guess at the time it would be more just like video games. I'm not saying video games are bad or anything, but mm-hmm. I just needed to escape, kind of deal, or watching a lot of TV. Then all of a sudden here comes, like hanging out with the wrong crowd. Experimenting with like certain vices that I shouldn't be doing. Like, thank God that I didn't go down that path, because easily I could have done the way my life started out with. Easily I could have gone down way, way worse than what I went through. But I can see why some people go down that way. Mm-hmm. And so that luckily it was just only well, I can't say luckily, it was just characteristics, but those are like the hardest thing to let go, because it's pretty much ingrained, who you are or who I was type of deal. But yeah, it's learning how to let go of all those type of deals and not look for things to replace it. False idealism, false happiness, false that only will make you happy for this little while, and then once it's gone, that's it, it's done.
Yeah. I also want to share one of the quotes. There's a lot of quotes by Saint Francis, but I want to share this one, which is, start by doing what's necessary, then do what's possible, and suddenly you are doing the impossible. And so I'm pretty sure that even though to us looking from the outside, what Saint Francis did looked like an extreme, I'm sure, I could be wrong, but I'm sure it was like a series of things that led up to that moment.
Right.
He didn't just wake up one day and say, okay, I'm going to completely change my life. I'm sure there were like little things day by day that he chose to do. Mm-hmm. And in a way, I hear this a lot, doing something like saving someone or stuff that a lot of saints are known for. For example, Maximilian Kolbe, when he chose to give himself and save another person, like those big moments required a lot of yes moments, a lot mm-hmm. of little moments that built up to that big yes. And in our own vocations, we're also called to say yes to God in small little ways. That way, when something big, like something, I don't know, difficult in life comes, mm-hmm. it's not like God is asking you to do something that he doesn't know you're prepared to do. And I really like that quote, because it's kind of like step by step. You do something small, that little small action leads to bigger actions, and in the end, you start doing things that seem like in the past very difficult to do.
Right.
And I want to use that quote as a segue to start talking a little bit about Jornadas, and we've been talking a little bit about it. But could you just tell us, what is Jornadas? How did it start? Like, what's it about? Without going into details about the retreat itself, but overall, what is Jornadas?
Well, generally, it's it started in Detroit in '98, but it really was funded back like in the early '60s in Spain, and it migrated over to Mexico, so it's very worldwide. But not to go into the history, because it's a long history, and that, that's a show in itself for that alone. But
part 2 coming soon.
It's basically it's a cycle. So first, it's like to initiate yourself to become a jornalero is to live a retreat. So the retreat, it doesn't end there, but the retreat itself, it's basically more like a guidance, a step by step on finding what's out there kind of deal. That's like, again, I'm not going to give any secrets away because it's going to ruin the experience for future jornaleros. But, it just comes and it's sort of like a guidance, it starts with you and it ends with this big question at the very end, and almost a self-discovery of like, why you're here on earth, who are you and what do you want, kind of thing. And, what do you call it? And so it's something that you're going to hear this a lot is, vive tu momento, is that you have to live at the moment. So luckily this retreat, like many retreats, but this retreat in particular, it's very, the closest word I can say is going to be very egotistical, because now everything is going to be focused around you. So it gives you a moment of pause in life to like, close yourself off, get rid of everything, like anything that's going to distract you, and makes you reflect.
So it's very personal. Very
personal. It's one-on-one, you with God and you with your friends, or kind of thing, but to help each other, but it's you. It's going to be focused on you. So it makes you, it could challenge you actually, but it makes you think, what have you done before Jornadas, before that moment that you decide to live the retreat. And it's going to make you think about, what am I going to do afterwards? That's the goal, So hopefully everybody that has lived Jornadas at least, takes that into heart. We're not asking to become a saint, one day to the next, which is, it's impossible to ask. Well, actually, it may happen. You never know. Anything is possible.
But it didn't happen with me.
Nor I.
It took me, it's been 4 years since I lived Jornadas. And even to this day, I'm still learning, still growing. It's been over 20-some years for you. We're all still growing.
Right. So again, because of the word Jornadas, is a continuous journey. So it's going to be continuous, your personal growth. And then it's sort of, it helps you if you take it, everything, step by step, and living it outside of the retreat, you're going to see changes. It's going to be difficult for some more than others type of deal, but it's your own personal thing, right? So, but it's in a continuous journey. So after the retreat, then comes La Escuela, which is kind of like a school, which is, that you continue on learning your compromiso, your promise that you make, your
commitment to the group.
Thank you. Your commitment to the group, but your commitment with the church.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Not the physical aspect, but the church worldwide type of deal. Catholicism, essentially. So it's always this continuum. And so the Escuela de Jornadas, or the school, is divided in such a way that it makes sure it touches base everything in your aspects of life, from very human to very much high spiritual. It's a good balance to because we're dealing with like all types of people, all types of aspects of life.
And I think that's one of the things that I appreciated about Jornadas, because before I lived this Jornadas retreat, I had heard of retreats, of Christian retreats, and I was like, nah, that stuff is for Christians. It's dumb. All they're gonna do is talk about Jesus. It's gonna be kumbaya, and I'm like, that's not for me at all.
Right. Same.
When I lived it, I was like, holy moly, why did I take so long to? Because my aunt, mi tía Mari, if you're listening to this, she invited me, I think like 3 or 4 times to this retreat, 4 different years, and every single year I said no.
No. My brother. Wait, Juan, if you're watching this, you better thank me with 10 times the amount you owe me, because the same thing with him. Same thing with him.
And so, what I really appreciated was that it's like, the way I've explained it to people who are also in jornadas is like, it's like it teaches people about Catholicism, right, but it does it in a way that's very like, I don't know if hood or como compas, and like between right. amongst friends. Like, you don't have to be like this super knowledgeable person that knows everything about life. You could be a drug addict. You could be X, Y, and Z. The point is that there's like a wide range of people who come together to live this retreat, and we're all on the journey together, right, trying to live out this call that we learned in the retreat. And so it I guess what I liked about it was that it wasn't too, like you said, they worked with you where you were at your life. Yeah. Whereas some other places would have been like, all right, we're going to read 10 chapters of the Bible, and you, right, you have to do this, and that, and you have to. Whereas in Jornadas, it was just much like, nah, no te preocupes, don't worry if you didn't do this. Now, we weren't super lenient about it, although sometimes we are slackers, not gonna lie, but we do right. it in a way that it's fun, that it's engaging, where you enjoy going Saturday after Saturday after Saturday. Yeah. Because I mean, it's been for you well over 20 years, and today you're choosing to go to session. Now right. there's reasons to right. why.
Under certain circumstances, I'm still helping out, but I'm not as involved.
Because I think something we left out is that this is for young adults, yes, who are not married, right, and do not have kids. And the right. reason isn't because we're exclusive. It's really because young adults have a certain way of life that is very different to someone who is married, who has like different responsibilities. Right.
Hence, that's why I said it's like the retreat is involved around you. So someone that's already in either living with someone, union libre, or married, or with kids and everything, the focus now is not on them. They can't do it anymore, because now their mindset is much more broad. Because again, like you said, the response now, you're not just you, it's you and your pareja, or you and your kids type of deal. So yeah, it's young adults, not married, without children, so they can focus on themselves first and foremost. So, but I'm just, on the outside, sort of like a guidance type of deal, like a guidance counselor, essentially.
So we have our spiritual director, our spiritual guide, which is right now Father Ryan. Hey. And then we also have people who have a little bit more experience with the movement, with Jornadas, how things go, how things have gone, the history, to kind of guide us wherever we're at right now. And so Ruth has been helping us through these past couple of years. We're very thankful for her. But I guess I also wanted to jump into a different question. Okay. So you've been with Jornadas for a while, right. Have you, like, throughout the years, witnessed any miracles in Jornadas, whether that be transformations or healings or just, changes in the way people live their lives?
Well, okay. Yes, but not like, what one may consider as miracles is like all of a sudden you raise the dead. None of that stuff. It's just basically more raising of like a dead soul that you see the change. Oh, I've seen the change, and I can't throw any names out there because it's not my place to say. But from me and or other people, what we witnessed is we've seen people in which they've led a very difficult life. A couple of people that I known that has even lived on the streets and everything, and they came to the U.S. with absolutely nothing, or they got kicked out of their house, they got kicked out of the country essentially, and again, with absolute nothing, and they're just downtrodden, and just the change and the hope to see that they actually had hope in their eyes. And that's, to me, it's, a huge miracle.
That is definitely a miracle. Because I consider, like, and I don't say this to sound arrogant, I consider myself a miracle. A product of the fruits of the hard work that Los Jornaleros did, that you did. Because before Jornadas, I'll share a little bit more about my testimony later on, but I was on the verge of taking my own life. I was in a very dark place, mentally, spiritually. So when I finally got to live the Jornadas retreat, it like transformed my life. It gave me purpose. And I think that that's another thing that I appreciate about it, that there's a group of people that are dedicating their time. They're praying for you. They're working so hard so that you can also have an encounter with Christ. And so I just want to say thank you, Ruth, for everything that you've done for El Movimiento. No. Because, you know, I like you know a couple of people who have those miracles have happened. I have seen, without naming people, I have also seen those miracles as well. And that kind of like, it motivates me. Because, you know, when we start the retreat and we see all these people, you know, with all these different backgrounds and the joy that we get to see in their faces when they get to experience that love of God, it's like, this is why I'm here, you know? Nothing, no amount of money, no kind of like material things is compared to this. And bringing it back to Saint Francis of Assisi, I think that it sounds crazy what it did, but if you know who Christ is, it doesn't seem impossible. In fact, we would probably want to follow in his steps.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, actually, because if Jornadas said it offers that, you know, the possibilities of like you know, it gives you guidance. It doesn't force it on you. It's like it's on you. Take it or leave it type of deal. And then if you do take it, hey, you know, gung ho and everything. And so to see that, you know, you don't have to be pretty much like living in a way like, you know, to the extremists. You don't have to let go every little thing out there. Just let go enough that's preventing you to become much more powerful, spiritually speaking, you know. And then you see like, you know, el camino de Dios is like, you know, the way, you know, to use and be friends with Jesus and to, you know, see God as your father and all this other stuff, and to, you know, use Mary as, you know, as an apostle, as a, you know, a prototype of how to be, you know, the best disciple there is type
and
of deal.
And as our mother.
Hey, like, you
and
know.
Jornadas. Shameless plugs.
Again. Right. But no, I lost my train of thought. Like, but, to you know, to see that that's an actual option out there, you know, and it's needed more now than never kind of deal. And so, for me, and again, not against anybody that's like this or not, that's very, you know, charismático, very charismatic, and you know, the singing and all
Lord
this.
Jesus,
burn,
I praise
you know,
your name.
like,
Hallelujah.
And that's, if it helps them to become a better human being,
if that's their path towards sainthood, that's them.
That's good for them and all this other stuff, and they're not causing any harm to anybody else, you know, more power to you. But I can't go down that path. You know, I was like, I've done other retreats in which it was kind of like that, and it just couldn't get me. I was like, nah, I can't do nothing, you know, the all this other stuff. And it's like, it's not me type of deal. And so when Jornadas came in, then just like how you said it, they'd speak to you like very compas and all that stuff. Shoot, you know, Padre Juan came up and started swearing at me, and I was like, you know, bleepity bleep. I was like, how can you, you know, kind of, but that was, you know,
but you're a priest.
Oh my
you
God.
Can't be saying words like that.
All this stuff. And then he was talking to me like, you know, just like, hey, you know,
person to person,
you know, very humble and all this other stuff. And that's what connected me with the most. And then we're talking about people that are, you know, the people that came in from Mexico, it was like the, you know, creme de la creme. They brought in the best of the best. But I also did I did a retreat over in Mexico. And then again, it's just like the retreats they do in you know, here in Detroit, was everybody that's giving the retreat, that's serving the retreat, was a variety of all walks of life, from a person that was a drug user and a drug seller to somebody that was actually a doctor, and they're all on the same team, you know. And the ones that were living the retreat was from, again, somebody that was pretty much was off the streets type of deal and struggling to, you know, to make a living and everything, to somebody that was actually studying to be, you know, had a very I'm gonna skip. I can't remember his carrera. I just can't think of what the name of the title, but it's up there with with NASA. But down, I can't think of the title of the working, not astrologo. Forgive me. I'm sorry. To the guy I know, allá de allá en Ciudad de México, perdóname. I know you know
you
what
did
I'm
a very important job. We just can't think of the name right now.
I know I can't think of what your job title is, but it has to do with the studying of space. Whatever that.
Astronomer?
Is it an astronomer?
I don't know. Point is, he does stuff with space.
See, right, space guy. So from the guy that's pretty much begging off the streets to space guy, there's like
Buzz Lightyear.
Buzz Lightyear. Buzzo. But yeah, and there was a few that were actual dentists. There was business owners. There was actual nurses, that studied to be all that. And there was people that restaurant owners, what do you call
Large,
it? Just a variety of everything that was living the retreat, and everybody, even though there's like the different, I guess the best word is a hierarchy of job titles, is like, it doesn't matter. They were all the same. No one is better than anybody else, kind of thing. And so to see that all in one together, that everybody, has their own thing, and that each and every one, no matter where they're coming from, they were ready to give up something to actually walk the path of what God is trying to tell them. Okay, you may be you may be space guy, but it's like, it's still not enough, kind of thing. It's like, I know you're struggling, begging for food for a moment, but I'm still asking you for some more, kind of thing. There's more to it out there than just, certain things that you're doing right now.
Yeah. And so I think we're approaching, I think we're past an hour now. We could go talking forever, but I want to be conscious or be just with the viewers, I don't want to bore them. Not that you're boring. I'm not boring. But what I'm trying to say
Thanks, man.
is that I want to finish off con lo último. Terminar con lo último y no terminar con lo primero.
I know, porque ya empezamos con el primero, hay que terminar con el último.
So I just want to share this last quote from Saint Francis of Assisi. So this is like when he had been in an abandoned church, and he saw like un crucifijo on the wall. Yeah. And he this was around the time when he started kind of learning about God and hearing his voice and his call. And he heard a call that said to him a few things, but the close to the end of that sentence was, "Go repair my house, which you, as you see, is falling completely to ruin." So viewers, listeners, I want you to hear that call from Christ as well. Go repair his house. You could see that where we are at the church with, everything that from scandals to people not believing in the Eucharist. There's plenty of bad stuff out there, but let's focus on what we could do, not on what we can't do. Let's focus on hearing that call where Jesus is calling you and saying, "Hey, I need you as an individual. I don't need you to be like every other person. I'm calling you individually. I care about you as a person, and you are have a job that only you can complete." And with that being said, Ruth, is there any last words or any last thoughts that you want to share?
Just to end it with, from me, is to end it with, there is still room to be better. And so it's just an invitation to become a better human being, no matter what religion you believe in. But, from a Catholic point of view, it's just like, we're inviting you to become a better person, no matter what. That God, or whoever, you're praising to, but God in specific, from my point, from my end and everything as a Catholic, is God has put you here for a purpose, and it's on you to find that purpose. And if you want to become, more happy in your life, is to actually find a way to make you happy and not look for the things that's going to give you those short little spurts of happiness, but it's only causing more harm. And we, what it is. Be it whatever kind of vice or materialism or certain characteristics or being with the wrong people, they are not fulfilling, because if they were fulfilling, you would not have like these downward spirals of forever down, of depression or sadness or fear or anger and everything, and just living those little tiny moments of happiness. That's not it. So what we're looking into, what Jornadas is focusing is to be this leader in your life, a leader in your family, a leader in society, a leader in church. And it gives you this option to, like, if you want to know how to become this leader, and if you want to know what your purpose is live the retreat. And if it's not this retreat, a different retreat, and be more involved with the church, because the church is actually youthful, active, fun. May not be, 100% fun all the time, because it does require responsibility and work, certain sacrifices and everything. But what good things doesn't involve all that? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So what me is like, I'm hoping and praying for everybody is to become this great human being that you can be, to become a saint yourself. May not be, we're not, God's not asking for extreme, but the little things count. One small thing can mean a great big world for somebody else. And so the little things, picking up the trash, treating animals with respect, treating children, the elderly with respect, again, being a shield for the defenseless kind of thing.
Yeah, thank you, Ruth. I think there's some things in this podcast that we've said that kind of, it feels like we left out some key things, or we said things that might not have clicked. But that's only because there's things in the retreat that we can't really explain here. Right. So if I would advise, or I'd recommend that if you do choose to live the Jornadas retreat when we finally have the retreat, right, I would suggest that you look back at this podcast to hear what we said, and a lot of things will click. It'll make more sense, because even with some phrases that Ruth was saying, it was like if you put it out of context, it's like, that doesn't make sense. Yep. What do you mean being a better person? What do you mean all these other stuff? Right. There's a reason why it doesn't make sense. And unfortunately, in this podcast, we're closing it with a teaser, or we're only giving you a little bit to kind of like encourage you to go live the retreat and see exactly what we're talking about. Right. So again, thank you, Ruth, for coming to Jornadas. There's for the people that don't know Jornadas, there's a variety of phrases that we have.
Many.
Las chicas alfas is one, or un fuerte aplauso. There's a lot of things
Vive
in
tu
Jornadas,
momento.
But vive tu momento.
Solo.
Solo. One of my most recent ones is soy ciudadano. So if
or that in the want a cookie?
Want a cookie? So like these little insiders, yes, there are insiders in Jornadas that tienes que vivir tu momento.
Yes.
And so, Ruth, I like closing off these shows with first you closing off, or my guest closing off with prayer, and then both of us saying pray the rosary. So you could close us off in prayer, and then I'll say pray the rosary, you'll say pray the rosary, and together we'll say pray the rosary. Sound good?
Pray the rosary, pray the rosary, pray the rosary.
Yep.
Okay, let's see if I can remember.
All right.
I was like, forgive me if I make a mistake. My bad. Type of deal. Okay. So, yeah, la oración. Okay. God, I would like to give thanks for letting me express myself and giving me another day of life. Thank you for bringing Ricardo in my life also. I want to thank you for the family that you have given me, all the friends that you have bestowed upon me. I want to thank for everybody that has come into my life to actually make me a better person, and to always continue on either challenging me or rewarding me in life and everything. I would pray for everybody that's listening, and for those also that hasn't had a chance to listen to either to this podcast or anything, that has to do related with the church, because I know that you are asking for the people to become more united. I can see it that in every day that people are asking for strength, and asking, especially in these trial times, unpresidential as they can say it, that we need more. We need more love. We need more faith. I can see that we are asking for much more in life, but it's up to us to start. And with your guidance, I'm asking and praying that you will continue on helping us in a way to continue on giving signs to everybody that they can see that they can choose a good life and they can choose to be themselves yet better. I pray for all those that cannot help themselves. I pray for all the for the children and the future children that we're going to have. And I pray for this country. Thank you for everything.
Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Well, thank you, Ruth. This was episode 3 of Café con Santos. It was a lengthy one, but I don't mind at all. And I hope our listeners/viewers appreciate it as well. So I hope that you enjoy the rest of the day, whether you hear this on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day you listen to it. I hope you have a great day. But please, please, please always remember, pray the rosary.
Pray the rosary.
Pray the rosary.
Hey, I got it. Oh my God.
Father Ryan, you messed up, but she got it right.
Ha ha.
Peace.
Ciao.